Okay, let's get into it. Gonna do my best to keep this quick, clean, and easy. Gonna give you my pre-market game plan going into tomorrow, and then I'll do my best to do a quick session recap of today. I know a lot of people cashed out on today. I mean, a lot of our analysis played out on the dot, which is really beautiful to see. So, like I always say, and I'll continue to say it, I'm giving free game. I'm giving free game. So let's keep this momentum going. Appreciate the love, support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, I mean, you can clearly see, we're bullish buys here on the market. The game plan coming into today was either break and retest over 679.85 or, long over 685.25. So let's go here on the intraday. Now, the we'll get into Qs in a sec, but the one thing that I noticed here, starting the week off is now Qs is ahead of the SPY. Qs was leading the SPY today. And if you watch my live trading session in real time, all this thing, everything that I'm saying now will make sense. So that was one thing that I noticed today was there was some divergence from the SPY and Qs, and Qs was the one with, leading the overall market. Now, plan your trade your plan. Really nothing I can do about bad price action. Today was pretty much a break-even day for me. You can see here, I am very transparent, very small loss. I wouldn't. To me, this isn't even a loss for the size I trade, but $400. So a break-even day for me. Nothing I could really do here about the price action. I actually ended up playing tomorrow's expiration contracts on this name, and I ended up getting stopped out. Now, let me break this down a little bit more thoroughly here. Beautiful trade. Like I said, my goal as a trader is after every single trade I take, I want to look back on that trade even after a loss and say I would 100% take that trade again. And this trade on SPY, I would 100% take it again. Now, I don't really trade the SPY and the Qs unless there's no setups on any tech names. So that's why I was really looking at SPY today. But SPY really had a good setup because I was eyeing. Sorry, give me one sec. I was eyeing this 679.85. Now we ended up getting the break here. You can see I had a very tight stop loss, and I teach you, right? You got to be patient. A lot of traders see, this big breakout, and they think to themselves, "Oh no, I missed a trade," or their FOMO kicks in. And I've had plenty of trades that I've uploaded on here where you've seen I've waited 40 minutes or even over an hour waiting for that pullback on the retest. So, we ended up getting this very nice breakout here, beautiful displacement. That's exactly what you want to see. And I entered on this candle here, this green candle here. Actually, let me give you a little rectangle so you can see what I'm talking about. This candle here. I would 100% take that shot again, right? Buyer stepped up aggressively. This wick means that price actually did push all the way up here. I don't trade my P&L. I was up a little bit, but I'm looking for the bigger move, right? I'm looking for this high today, and you can see that actually played out. So my thesis was correct. Timing wasn't in my favor. 8 times out of 10, that works. So I'm happy with my trade. I planned my trade. I traded my plan. I stuck to my plan. That is textbook trading right there. That's how you become a consistently profitable trader. So I just want to break this trade down very quick. Now, one thing that I know and that I teach you is what happens when we fail a key level, right? These are people getting squeezed out of their position for a loss. And what does that do? Fuels that move higher. So I was just a part of that squeeze. I wasn't short in this game though. But when I sell my position for a loss, I'm helping fuel that move higher. I wouldn't necessarily say I got faked out though, because right, I ended up getting stopped out like right here, and we actually pushed all the way back down to the low day. So I mean, that's a pretty big stop loss. I had a good stop loss placement. I'm very happy with that. But I mean, when we pull all the way back down to the lower day, I got to get out of that. Like I can't sit there and hope. Something that I said today in the live trading session is, there's no such thing as hope in the market. But you can see, once we reclaimed this, we ended up basing a little bit, and then this thing just took off, and we pushed all the way back to the top of the range. We ended up pulling back again, and we held. So we know, the 679.85 is such a strong key level here. Thesis was correct today. Just nothing I can do about the price action. Now, going into tomorrow, it's really the same game plan. If you want to be hands off here a little bit, because you can kind of see for the last 3 days we've been sitting in between 685 and 679. By all means, go for it. But the trend is your friend, the dip is your best friend. And you can see here. Let me go just so I can show you. I mean, you can see, right? Our level is being respected, 100% being respected, right? The dip is your best friend. So, my goal was to like get in here, push back to the top of this range. My thesis was correct. Just, timing wasn't in my favor. That's okay. So let's go here on the daily really quick. Now, what I love about a long here over 679.85 is it's such a big RR trade. It's a pretty decent sized RR trade, to be honest. It pretty much played out today. Crazy. We actually almost got back to the top of the previous day high, but you can see seller stepped in and we pushed this thing lower. So when I see a candle like this close, all I see is another opportunity to pretty much just catch the break and retest here. You can see every time we get over this level, we have no problem getting to the top of this range. We have no problem doing that. Now, if the market wants to stay heavy, right, stick with me because a lot of people wait for one red day and say the end is here. Remember, we broke 673 on the daily. What have we not done? Retested this. We can't forget that, right? The break and retest occurs on every level. I'm sorry, on every time frame. And the bigger the time frame, the better. So we're still waiting for this retest. I'm just saying, if this market wants to stay heavy and pull all the way back to 673, we're turning this channel into support on this retest. So don't forget about 673. But tomorrow, right? 679 is solid. And of course, a break and retest over 685.25 is solid too, just because we'll be outside of this channel that's forming and we'll be above the previous day high, which means price is likely to continue higher. Qs. So beautiful here on Qs. I know maybe like 6 people cashed out today on this, and it makes my day seeing you guys cash out. It really, really does. Right off the pre-market plan. We know we're bullish biased, and we're looking for break and retest, pullback long entries, and we knew our 612.80 was such a key level to watch here. On the dot. On the dot. Right? That is textbook. If it's hard for you to play a pullback long, the reason for that being is because you're trying to control the outcome or predict the outcome of a trade. Remember, our job as traders is not to be right or wrong. It's to take our setups every single time they occur. That's our job. Like I said, your performance as a trader is not based on wins or losses. It's based on following your rules and being disciplined. And if you do that and you take your setups every single time they occur, you will be profitable over a period of time. There's no doubt about that. So, right, trade without reservation and hesitation. So a lot of people took this. Beautiful. Like I said, I know it's hard for some traders to take that when, you don't have any key levels marked out, and then you see a bearish candle, breaking through this lower day here, and you think, oh no, we're pulling back. No, not at all. Buyers are loading up here, pushing this thing higher. So this was an instant, big return. We only had one down close candle before we really got back to the top of the range. So this was an A+ shot. If you're able to take that, kudos to you. And like I said, right, we're trending right now. So you're risking this much to make this much. This is how you catch these big trades and grow your small account. I'm trying to give you the tools here and the proper guidance so you can do so. So this is a big RR trade, right? This thing, we pulled all the way back to 612.80 on the dot and made a high day, and this thing is still sitting far above 612.80. That's textbook. That's beautiful. Now, going into tomorrow, and I mean, you can clearly see, look at Qs here, right? I already showed you and explained to you how, Qs is stronger than SPY. That's a no-brainer. So, what do I love about this 617.20? This is also another A+ shot, because if we get over 617.20, there's nothing in its way to the upside. Today was a very strong day on the Qs. We ended up coming from 612.80 basically all the way back up to 619. We almost got back above the previous day high. We didn't. But I mean, look at this. This was the previous day low. This was a previous day low. We actually gapped down. So not only that, we gapped down, we filled the gap, we pulled back to our key level here, and this thing trended all the way up. That's a very strong day on the Qs here. So solid day. Tomorrow, you're just looking for this. Looking for this, targeting, really the top of this range. That's an A+ shot there. I would take that. Why? Because it's a big RR trade. There's nothing in its way. There's nothing in this way. Especially if we can get over the previous day high, this thing can really start to go. So let's go here on the daily. Right? We broke this down beautifully. This is why I try and give you these pre-market game plans, in advance so you can study them. Now, like I just said on the spot, the break and retest happens every single time on every time frame. You just got to be patient. This is what I mean when I say, hey, I don't feel like I missed a trade because this thing is playing out. I'm waiting for my trade to come to me. Remember, we broke this down. We got the breakout over the 612.80. We got the displacement candle. And what did we just get today? The retest. That is textbook. That is the break and retest, and we push all the way back to the top of this range. Why is that also a big opportunity there? It's because we turn this channel into support. We've been preaching this forever. I ended up taking my shot today on the SPY, right? We know I've been hawking this thing. No regrets there. It was a high probability shot on the SPY. I took it. But, right, we got our break and retest over 612.80. We finally got it. We finally got it. Now tomorrow, you're just looking for the break and retest over 617.20, right? Remember, we kept talking about this bull flag setting up. This was the other dip buy opportunity. You want to be in a trade down here before we get back to the top of the range. So super solid there on Qs. That thing is setting up. Let's go here to IWM. Now, IWM, I'm pretty much hands off this name. We are bullish bias. We know that. We're moving to the upside, but we're in a channel on the weekly. I stay away from channels. So the A+ shot for me is a break and retest over 248.55. But you're bullish bias. So, I mean, beautiful breakout here. I've been trying to teach you folks, the better the displacement, the better. You can't let this freak you out and think, oh man, I missed a trade, or it's too late now. That's not your job to predict if it's too late, if you missed a trade. No, you take your shot. Buyers come up. I'm sorry, buyers step up when we pull back and we push this thing higher. And this thing actually started to trend. And you can see, started to trend. I mean, that's a solid trade. You were risking, right, this much to make, well, really this much. But we ended up pulling all the way back. Maybe we almost got back. We almost got back to the high day. So that's a solid trade if you caught that. But like I said, I'm hands off. Let me zoom out here on the 15-minute. Right? There's a lot of resistance up here at 248.55, and it's a weekly level. So I'm just waiting for the break and retest over 248.55. We're starting to sit sideways. That's expected, right? We're in a channel, but we're bullish bias. I mean, look at this thing. Just look at this. Each day, this thing is just moving higher. So we just trended, right? Consolidation. We're really just waiting for our next leg higher over this 248.55 on IWM. Tesla. Really nothing to break down here. Tesla's just in a channel, so I'm not even touching Tesla until really we get back to the top of the range, or some way, somehow, we pull all the way back down to 410. But I'm hands off on Tesla. Right? The price action is pretty trash. I'll go here on the intraday. Not only are we in a channel on the daily time frame, what do we do today? Inside bar day. So not only do we have an inside bar day, which means, we're stuck in between the previous day high and the previous day low, which means we're in a channel. We're also in a channel on the daily, and then we open up dead smack in the middle of the range and we just sit here all day. So this is just a low probability environment. I'm trying to teach you how to think in probabilities and how to take high probability shots and stay away from bad trades. And you got to know the pros and cons. We know that. Got to know the pros and cons to our system. And what are the cons to the break and retest, channels, and consolidation? So, good recovery here. Solid recovery, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, just green, upside. The last 2 days, inside bar day, but it's just bad price action. I don't want anything to do with Tesla sitting dead smack in the middle of this range. All right, I'll give you a better visual. I mean, you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. Kind of just dead smack sitting in here. We can't expect continuation on our plays when we're sitting in a channel. You know what I mean? So we're really just being patient for, really a trade over 450 or 466. But that's at the top of the range. Right now, we're pretty much, and we were at the bottom of the range. Now we're just sitting dead smack in the middle of the range. So you really don't want to touch Tesla now. You can take a screenshot of this if you want to, scout Tesla. But if you take any trades in here, you just know you're scalping. You are not looking to hold this thing for continuation. Let's go on the intraday here. Right, look at that. That's why we avoid channels. I made an educational video on the no trade zone. I break that down very thoroughly on why. This is why, right? It's hard to take trades in here. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to take any trades in these zones because they're low probability environments. And then you end up taking 2 trades, 3 trades. You go over 3, and then now you're in drawdown. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to teach you to stay away from these low probability setups. So it's really nothing here on Tesla. Like I said, if you want to take a trade on it, look for scalps. The only way I'm really looking to go long is if some way, somehow we pull all the way back to 410, but I really don't see that happening anytime soon. NVIDIA, I'm staying true to my guns here. I'm staying true to my system, right? I'm a risk manager before I'm a trader. And I said, as long as we are under 184.50, I'm not touching this thing. We're bullish biased. You can look to scout by all means, but I want to take the highest probability setups that I know if I take this trade, it's going to pay me very, very well. And I'm patient enough to sit on my hands for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days if I need to. Remember, you want to take A+ setups only. If you're not taking the highest probability setups, why are you taking the trade? I hope that makes sense. So when you look at this on the 15-minute, what do you see here? Nothing, right? We're not doing anything. We're just sitting sideways. This thing isn't moving higher. It's not moving lower. We're bullish bias, but it's just, right? We'll push to the top of the range, then we'll pull back down, and then we'll have another inside bar day, and then we end up pulling back to the bottom of the range. We come back up, right? And then we come back down to the weekly level, back up. See that? There's nothing in here. We're just sitting sideways. We're bullish bias, but this is a low probability environment. I'll go here on the daily just to show you a better visual on the channel that we're in, but I want to see this channel turn into support. This is an A+ long here, and it's a weekly level. I love that. We can see our weekly level here did its job. There's no surprise that, NVIDIA pulls back to 173.15. We get that retest during the pre-market, and some people think, oh, it just shot up. No, this is a break, right, and retest off our weekly level. So buyers stepped up very aggressively and pushed this thing all the way back to the top of the range. We actually got above the previous day high. So today was a very solid day on NVIDIA. See what happens when we get around our key level though? Start to sit sideways. I don't want anything to do with that. This is what I'm waiting for, right? So I'm not touching this name until we get over 184.50, right? We're bullish bias. So if you want to, take a screenshot of these key levels and scalp off of it, by all means, go for it. Apple, this is beautiful. So, of course, right? Apple gives us our setup on a Friday. I've already broken this down. I'm not taking anything in that. That's just terrible price action. But right, like I said, you want to be in a trade down here before we get up here. Today, Apple ends up pulling back. I skipped this trade as well. I'll explain AMD in a second here on why I skipped that trade. But I skipped this trade as well, right? This is all easy to say in hindsight when you see beautiful price action. But during the intraday, this did not look that clean. Now, we knew we're bullish bias. I was looking for a pullback long, but like I always say, I'm a risk manager before I'm a trader. So this is a very aggressive entry, right? I needed like a candle to close down here and then form, and then I can take my shot. I can't take this trade, when this wick comes down here and then I go long. Because remember, if I go long, while this wick is still pulling back, making this candle here, all that's doing is widening my stop loss. That's all that's doing. So let's say I get filled here. You know how I trade. I'm going to need a displacement candle under my stop loss in order to get stopped out because I know if I sell too early, I can get squeezed out of that position for a loss. So, my stop loss will look something like this, right? That's too much risk for me. I'm not taking that trade. So really didn't get the pullback that I wanted. I really wanted like a candle to close down here somewhere. Maybe we base a little bit and then strong buyer step up, but we never got that. Just as soon as we pulled back, buyer stepped up aggressively and shot this thing higher. So beautiful here on Apple. Now, like I just broke down, on SPY and Qs where you get the breakout on the daily and you wait for the retest. This is a beautiful candle. This candle, in my opinion, couldn't have closed any better. I want, this strong bullish candle closure to the upside. That's exactly what I want. Now, this is where I say patient pays. It may take 1 day. It may take 2 days. Who knows? But our job is to be patient. And now we're just waiting for this. We see this over and over on Apple. Remember, we got the breakout here and we got the retest on this day. We see this over and over. Remember, we got the breakout here. We did all that. We ended up pulling back. We got the retest during the pre-market, if you remember that. And now we're here. Remember, I kept saying this 264 was the A plus buy. That was the A plus buy. We just ended up getting the break and retest during the pre-market. There's nothing we can do about that. But like I've been saying, you want to be in a trade down here before we get back up here. All that being said, right? Beautiful candle closure here. I love that. Now we're just going to be patient and we're going to wait for that. So the A plus long opportunity now on Apple is a pullback long to 279. I love that it's a whole number. That's beautiful. You want to see that. Now, if tomorrow, this thing wants to chop around, we can't be surprised because today was a nice trendy day. And what is typically followed up after a nice trendy day? Say it with me, consolidation, right? So, but beautiful. I mean, 279 key level here, and you can see on the dot, we got a nice breakout, displacement. You got in here and this thing went higher. I definitely wouldn't have taken that trade just because we're already at the top of the range, but this is beautiful displacement. Now we're just going to be patient and wait for that pullback to 279 here on Apple. AMD, 2 days in a row. I mean, this is just textbook. 2 days in a row. A break and retest over 214.85, right? Our analysis was spot on. Now, I ended up skipping this trade. If you go watch the live trading session that I posted from today's session, all this will make sense. I'm a risk manager before I'm a trader, and there's a difference between skipping a trade and missing a trade. And I actually ended up skipping this trade. And the reason for that being is because context matters, at least for me when I trade. I don't just take a trade off a key level just because it approaches. I have to look and see what SPY is doing, what Qs is doing before I take my entry. And during this time, SPY, Qs, even Apple and Tesla, everything was pulling back so heavy. And so was AMD. So I didn't spot any divergence here. That was like my main thing. I was like, yeah, I don't see any divergence. So if I take this trade and I get stopped out, the reason I'm losing this trade is because the market is pulling back. So I didn't like the context. I ended up skipping the trade, but you can see we pulled back on the dot, 214.85. I mean, that's beautiful. And buyer stepped up clearly, right? Very aggressively here. Give you a better visual. I mean, these contracts did backflips. And like I said, this is the biggest RR trade. So if you're able to hold this and leave some runners, now, right, you're in this trade up here, right? Now that it's at 220, I mean, we pulled back a little bit, but still, you made it to the top of the range, and you're risking just right under 214.85, right? This is how you grow the small account. Like, there's no magic system. The best way to grow a small account, any account, is every single trade you take has to be a high RR trade. Don't trade to win. Trade and think, okay, how much am I willing to risk to make X amount? So, right, we're risking this much to make this much. I hope that makes sense. I really, really do. So I ended up skipping this trade. I hope my reason for skipping this trade makes sense. If you watched the live trading session from today, it'll make more sense to you. But textbook, right? 2 days in a row, break and retest over 214.85 played out perfectly. I ended up skipping this trade on Friday. I mean, you can clearly see why. The price action was terrible. Big wicks, big candles equals a lot of risk, so I'm staying away from that. Now, coming into tomorrow, right? Things are a little different here. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm too fond of waiting for this again. I'd rather just wait for that, in my opinion. That's the A plus shot. That's also the dip buy. Because remember, as long as we're between 225 and 203, we're neutral. We're not bullish or bearish bias. Even though we're moving to the upside, you don't want to fight the trend. But, right, I'm neutral in between 225 and 203. If this sets up, right, if we do get a pullback to 214.85, I got to see strong buyers step up again in order for me to take that shot. That's the only way I do. But like I said, I'm more than happy to just kind of wait on my hands and wait for this. That's your A plus buy. That's your dip buy at the bottom of the range before we get back to the top of the range. I'll zoom out here on the daily just to give you a better visual. Now, if we fall under 214.85, I doubt we will, but if we do, right, you can look to short under this, right? Because the way I see it is this is our key level, right? 2 days in a row now, we've held this as support, and we would just be turning a support level into resistance. Remember, we're neutral in between these two. So I'm open to both ways. But I'm very comfortable kind of just sitting on my hands waiting for this. We'll see what happens. But we know our 214.85 is solid. I know a lot of people cashed out on this today. So kudos to you guys. I'm very happy you're able to catch this trade. Monster way to start the week off. I mean, we just ripped through the high day here. And this thing ended up pushing from 214 to 220. I mean, that is beautiful. That is solid. So tomorrow, right, you can look for this, or you can wait for a break and retest over 225 on AMD. Now that those are done, let's go to the side watches really quick. So Google, very happy to see this on Google. This looks a little bit better actually on the daily. So no coincidence here, right? Support, give me one sec. Our support level, right, turned into resistance. Now we know we're not looking to short Google. I mean, this thing is so bullish, but I'm kind of happy this occurred, right? This thing is very extended. You can see we still got this little gap here to fill. The deeper the pullback, the better. So tomorrow, I mean, honestly, you can look for that and target here. That's a key level. You can clearly see it's a key level. That's an A plus shot. You're getting in at the bottom of the range before we get back to the top of the range. That's a big RR trade. Or, right, just be patient. You can wait for that. You can wait for that. But this is a solid setup too, because at least you're getting in down here before we get back up here. And then Amazon, being very patient on Amazon. You can see every time we push into the top of this range, sellers step in. This is your A plus shot. We're bullish bias on this name, but we are in a channel on a weekly. I avoid channels, but this is textbook. I'm really waiting for this. I'm really, really waiting for this. Let's go here actually on the 15, just so you can actually on the daily, just so you can get a better visual. Look at this name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So out of 6 trading days, we've only had one down close red candle. This thing is, I mean, literally from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. Amazon's just been on a complete rip to the upside. I'm not fighting that. This momentum is strong. And, look at these daily candles. They aren't little candles. These things are bullish, engulfing green candles to the upside. So this is your A plus shot before we get back up here. Remember, you want to get in at the bottom of the range before we get back to the top. Not only that, it's a weekly level and it's a very high RR trade. There's nothing in its way. A lot of thin volume in here. So if Amazon can do that, I love that. In my opinion, this play is setting up. This is something I want to see before this play sets up. I love to see that because now we got a very nice confluence here. Not only is it the previous day high, it's a weekly resistance level. Oh man, this thing is screaming at me. So I got an alert set here. I love that it's also a whole number, right? Amazon 236, I'm looking for that. Now, I understand Amazon is a slow mover on the underlying. So, if I take this trade, if you take this trade, be patient, right? Don't expect this thing to move like Tesla, right? Just be patient, let it play out. You're playing off a weekly level. You're going to have to give it some room. You're going to have to give it some time to develop. And the best tip I can give you that I've been trying to teach you, ignore your P&L when you're in a trade. Know where your stop loss is. Everything else is noise. As long as our price is above our key level that we're risking off of, our thesis is correct. So 236 is the key level here to watch on Amazon. Appreciate the love, support. Very happy. A lot of you guys started off this week strong, starting off this month strong. The community we're building, I appreciate the love, support. We're growing at a pretty fast pace. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Like I always say, if there's a name on here that you want me to break down, just add it in the comments, and I'll do that. So appreciate it. I will see you all tomorrow.